Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about how to simplify a sum or difference of two univariate polynomials, which basically means I'm going to take two polynomials that have the same variable. In this case it's u, or u squared, and I'm going to figure out how to add them together or to combine like terms. So before we do that, we have to figure out what are like terms. So I'm going to zoom this down here and we're going to talk about like terms for a second, because it's important that you understand what those are in order to add or subtract polynomials. So like terms, they have the exact same variables with the same exponents. So I'm not going to use u's because we have that in our example, but I'm going to use x's. So if I had something like 4x and 5x, I can say that these are like terms because I'm looking only at my variable. I don't care about my number in front. That's called the coefficient. I only care about my variable. Because these are both x's, these are considered like terms. But if I look at something that is 4x and 5x squared, in order for things to be like terms, their variables and their exponents have to be the same. So if I look here, this is an x, but this is an x squared. X and x squared are different because this one has a squared and the other one doesn't, the one that's highlighted in orange. So these are considered not like terms. These are not like terms. So when you're dealing with like terms, or when you're dealing with adding together polynomial, you can only add together the things that are like terms. If they're not like terms, you can't add them anymore. They just stay the way that they are. So I'm going to go back up to my example. I want to add together 3u squared minus 4u minus 6 plus 5u squared minus u plus 2. The first thing that might be a little bit confusing is how come they're in parentheses. These are going to be in parentheses just to indicate that these are the two polynomials that you're adding together. In this case, it's okay to drop the parentheses or kind of ignore them because here in this spot right here, there's no number out in front. And when there's no number out in front, the number that's really there is a 1. And 1 times anything is whatever the anything that you're multiplying by, like 1 times 10 is 10, 1 times x is x, 1 times 50 is 50, 1 times x squared is x squared. So because this number is the one, it doesn't change anything that's inside my polynomial. So if it helps you, you can rewrite it. Oops, sorry. We can rewrite it like this. So we have 3u squared minus 4u minus 6. You don't have to do this, but you can. Minus u plus 2. Okay, it's okay if you do this, or you can leave it the way that it is. I like to just leave it the way it is because it's extra steps if I have to write stuff down. Now here's what I like to do to make sure that I match up all my like terms and I use all of my terms when I'm doing my combining together. I like to kind of group together my like terms. So I'm going to look for u squareds. So here I have u squareds and here I have u squareds. And I know that probably at home you don't have a lot of colors, and when I do this on paper, I just have my plain old pencil, so I just do different symbols. So here I have u's, and here I have u's, and here I have constants, and here I have constants. So first I'm going to look together, and when we're adding or subtracting polynomials, we always want to put our terms in order of descending coefficients. So I'm going to start with my u squareds, and I'm going to look at my u squareds. So I have my u squareds underlined, and to combine together like terms, this is the part where you look at the number that's out in front, or what we call the coefficient. So here's 3 and here's 5. Now you add together the numbers that are like terms. So 3 plus 5 is equal to 8. So this becomes 8u squared. Now I've used this one and I've used this one, so I cross them off. So then I can make sure that I use all of my terms. Okay, so now I'm looking at my u's. When I'm checking out my u's, so I have a negative 4u and a negative u. So I'm going to look again at my coefficients. We'll choose a different color here. My coefficients are negative 4 and negative, there's just a negative, but remember when there's no number there, it's really a 1. So now I'm going to add together negative 4 plus negative 1 is negative 5. And those are u's. I'm going to cross those off since I used them. And the last thing I have is my constants, which is negative 6 and 2. So I'm going to add together negative 6 and 2, and negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. And this would be my final answer. The thing that's going to be tricky is if you were subtracting these. So let's look at if I was to subtract these same polynomials. It's going to change my answer. Because when you're subtracting, especially right here in this second part, it means you're subtracting this whole group. When I'm subtracting the whole group, it's really nice to get into the habit of changing it to add the opposite. So I'm really going to change this to addition, and I'm going to add the opposite of every term that's inside. So this one changes to a plus, this changes to a negative 5u, and this changes to a negative 2. Now I'm going to do the same process that I just did. I'm going to combine together my like terms. So here I have u's and u's. I'm sorry, u squareds. Here I have u's, and here I have my constants. So for my u squareds, I'm going to look at my coefficients. I have a 3 and a negative 5. So 3 plus negative 5 is going to give me negative 2. And these are u squareds. I crossed them off because I used them. If I look at my coefficients, here I have a negative 4, and now this is just a positive u, and remember if there's no number here in front of the variable, it's a 1. So this would be negative 4. I'm going to put this one. Negative 4 plus 1 is going to be negative 3, so I have negative 3 u's. And then I'm going to look at my constants. I have negative 6 plus negative 2 is going to give me negative 8. So they do give you different answers when you add and subtract, but the trickiest thing is when you're subtracting, remember to add the opposite of every term that's inside the second group or the group that you're subtracting. Hope that helps. Let me know if you need more help.